Why revenge always backfires. When someone hurts you, the instinct is immediate. You want justice. You want balance. You want them to feel what you felt. That impulse is human. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people never accept. Revenge almost always benefits the person who hurt you more than it benefits you. Why? Because the moment you react, you confirm something dangerous. You confirm that they still have access to you, to your emotions, to your attention, to your inner world. And as long as that access exists, they haven't lost. Stoic philosophy and modern psychology agree on this point with striking clarity. The deepest form of power is not retaliation. It is emotional independence. In this video, we're not talking about forgiveness as a moral performance. We're not talking about pretending nothing happened. And we're definitely not talking about weakness disguised as peace. We're talking about the smartest possible way to destroy the influence of someone who hurt you, without revenge, without conflict, and without damaging yourself in the process. A way that leaves them irrelevant, disconnected, powerless. And it begins with understanding why most people lose the moment they try to get even. 1. Form. Why revenge always keeps you trapped. Revenge feels like closure, but psychologically, it does the opposite. When you seek revenge, your mind stays locked onto the person who hurt you. Your thoughts revolve around what they did. Your emotions stay tethered to the past. Your energy remains invested in someone who no longer deserves it. In other words, revenge doesn't free you. It extends the relationship. Stoic thinkers understood something modern neuroscience confirms. The brain does not distinguish between physical presence and emotional fixation. If someone occupies your thoughts, they occupy your nervous system. This is why people who pursue revenge often feel exhausted rather than satisfied. They replay conversations. They imagine future confrontations. They live in a constant state of mental activation. And the cruel irony is this: the person who hurt you may have already moved on, while you are still paying the emotional cost. From a psychological perspective, revenge reinforces dependency. Your sense of relief depends on their reaction. Your sense of justice depends on their pain. That is not power. That is emotional outsourcing. Stoicism teaches that freedom begins the moment your well-being no longer depends on external outcomes, especially other people's behavior. If someone can provoke you into action, they still control you. And that's why the first real step toward winning is not retaliation, but withdrawal of emotional investment. Not avoidance, not suppression, but detachment. 2. Detachment is not coldness. It is control. One of the biggest misunderstandings about detachment is that it means you stop caring. That's not true. Detachment does not mean you feel nothing. It means your emotions no longer dictate your actions. Psychologically, detachment is a boundary. It separates what happens to you from what happens inside you. Most people confuse intensity with authenticity. They believe that strong reactions prove they care deeply. But strong reactions often prove something else: lack of control. Stoicism reframes strength as the ability to remain internally stable, regardless of external disturbance. You still acknowledge what happened. You still recognize the harm. But you refuse to let it reorganize your identity. This is where most people fail. They don't just experience pain. They become the pain. They let it define their decisions, their mood, and their future behavior. Detached individuals do something different. They observe their emotions without obeying them. They allow feelings to pass without turning them into narratives. From the outside, this looks like indifference. From the inside, it feels like clarity. And clarity is dangerous to anyone who once relied on your emotional reactions. 3. The moment you stop reacting, power shifts. Manipulation only works on reactive people. Guilt works when you feel responsible for others' emotions. Provocation works when you feel compelled to respond. Disrespect works when you feel the need to defend your ego. The moment you stop reacting, these tactics collapse. Psychology calls this extinction. When a behavior no longer produces a response, it loses power. Stoics practiced this intuitively. They understood that attention is currency, and silence is often the refusal to pay. When you stop explaining yourself, people lose leverage. When you stop defending your choices, critics lose relevance. When you stop reacting emotionally, provocations lose meaning. This doesn't mean you tolerate mistreatment. It means you no longer engage on terms designed to destabilize you. The most unsettling thing for someone who once hurt you is not anger. It's neutrality. Because neutrality signals something terrifying. They no longer matter. And once someone no longer matters, they no longer have influence. 4. Becoming unreachable is the ultimate response. There is a difference between ignoring someone and becoming unreachable. Ignoring is still a reaction. Unreachability is a transformation. When you become unreachable, your emotional world no longer has entry points others can exploit. This happens gradually. You stop oversharing. You stop justifying your decisions. You stop giving emotional explanations to people who haven't earned access. Your life becomes quieter, but stronger. Stoic philosophy emphasizes this shift, protecting the inner citadel, your thoughts, your values, your sense of self. When these are guarded, external harm loses its ability to penetrate. People who hurt you often expect one of two responses: submission or retaliation. Unreachability offers neither. It denies them resolution. It denies them drama. It denies them significance. And that denial is not cruelty. It's self-respect. 5. Success, without noise, is the most effective revenge. Here is a difficult truth. Nothing frustrates someone who hurt you more than seeing you unaffected and improved, not performatively successful, not loudly triumphant, but quietly better. When you redirect your energy away from revenge and into self-mastery, something powerful happens. Your life advances, while theirs remains unchanged. Stoics believed the highest response to harm was excellence of character, not because it proves something, but because it frees you. Growth that doesn't announce itself is the most threatening kind. It signals independence, and independence is what truly ends psychological conflict. When you no longer need validation, explanation, or closure from someone, they lose all strategic value. They are no longer an enemy. They are simply irrelevant. 6. When you win without revenge, you win permanently. Revenge offers temporary satisfaction and long-term damage. Detachment offers temporary discomfort and lasting freedom. At first, it feels unnatural. The ego wants expression. The mind wants resolution. But over time, something changes. Your nervous system stabilizes. Your attention returns to the present. Your decisions become deliberate instead of reactive. You stop living in response to harm. You start living in alignment with your values. And that is the point where the past loses its grip. Stoicism teaches that no one can harm you without your cooperation. Modern psychology agrees. Trauma persists when it remains emotionally activated. Detachment deactivates it. And once deactivated, it no longer defines you. Conclusion: the quietest victory is the strongest one. You don't defeat those who hurt you by hurting them back. You defeat them by removing their access, by refusing to react, by reclaiming your attention, by becoming emotionally sovereign. Revenge keeps the wound open. Detachment allows it to close. And the most powerful outcome is not that they suffer. It's that they no longer matter. That is the smartest victory. And it requires no revenge at all. If this perspective helped you see strength differently, take a moment to like the video, subscribe, and stay connected for more insights on self-mastery, emotional control, and quiet power.